thank you for attending today, the webinar for finding your flow state with Microsoft 365 as presented by CDI LLC. Just to get started, we have some housekeeping items to start with. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A. If you want to follow along, you will need Microsoft Teams and Edge and a Microsoft 365 login. And then, of course, we have to have the qualifier in this. Your mileage is going to vary if you're following along, just based off of how your IT admins have configured Microsoft 365 and things like that. If any of these items are things that you want to make sure are implemented in the organization, we'll have a bit of a call to action at the end where you can reach back out to Jen or your current CDI rep. And we can have those conversations and make sure that we get these things implemented for you so that you can make better use of Microsoft 365 and kind of improve your user experience. So to start off with, I'm Dustin Lloyd. I am the manager of Microsoft Productivity Solution Architects on the CDI presale side. We also have Matt Gordon today, who will be doing a lot of the demos. He is our services architect on the delivery side. And then we also have Matt Gedeon here today, the Matts. He is our Microsoft practice lead, and he'll be providing some color commentary for us, as well as helping answer anything that you put in the Q&A. So for anyone that doesn't know about CDI, CDI is an award-winning technology integrator. We architect, deploy, and manage multiple hybrid IT platform solutions. Our portfolio includes the hybrid cloud infrastructure. We have full security teams, red teams, things like that. We do modern application development. We have intelligent operations and digital workflow capabilities, and then the digital workspace, which is really where the majority of Microsoft 365 falls in right now, in addition a little bit to the security side. As you can see, we hold strategic technology partnerships with some of the biggest vendors of the industry, including Microsoft. And we'll get into our engagement methodology with customers a little bit later on and how this kind of plays into Microsoft 365. But basically, we help our customers design, deploy, and operate their infrastructure, platforms, software as a service, security, basically anything that falls under the portfolio. So talking a little bit more on how we engage our customers and going a little bit deeper in there. When we engage our customers, we basically start with a strategy and architecture, right? We want to make sure that solutions you're putting in last for a long period of time, and you're getting your best return on investment, your best TCO. As we build that strategy and architecture, typically you might have to procure Microsoft 365 licenses or a third-party license or a backup solution, something like that. We'll leverage our partner our partnerships with our vendors to help you get the best price there. Then we have our professional services, so that's where our delivery teams come in and they help configure and build out those platforms so you are getting that ROI. And then we also have modern IT operation services. A lot of people think of this as managed services. And this is basically where we help with day-to-day operations, level 2 help desk, things like that to keep things moving. To the right of that, you're going to see our pillars. So this is basically how we categorize our portfolio and how we arrange our teams to work. So today we are going to be covering a lot of things in digital workspace because we are talking about Microsoft 365. But generally, when we're engaging clients like this and we're having these conversations, we generally get the how question, especially when it comes to Microsoft 365. And that how question is, how do I get my organization to adopt Microsoft 365? It's what it really comes down to. And we get asked that in a number of different ways anywhere in the cycle. So when we're talking strategy and architecture, a lot of people go, hey, this is all great, but how do I get my organization to buy into this and accept the yearly or monthly cost, right? If we're doing delivery, a lot of people go, hey, this is great. I really like how it's all set up, but how do I communicate this with my users? And then in the day-to-day operations, right, we can show adoption and usage scores. And typically what that comes down to is hey, I can see that we have teams out there, but we've only got 30% of the organization using it, right? How do we improve that? And generally those conversations come down to, how can I remove the extra click? How can I make things more searchable? And they all kind of bubble up to the same thing, right? So that's kind of the reason for this webinar today. We realize that there's a gap out there that we want to help people close and help people understand. And when we're answering this question, the first thing we generally have to start with is just kind of base level. What is Microsoft 365? A lot of end users today look at it as the Office products, right? The Word, Excel, the Outlook, things like that. The box they used to be able to go buy at Best Buy, right? But really, that's not what it is now. It's more than that. So we still have all of those apps, but now it's bundled with products and services that in the past used to be on-prem infrastructure, your Exchange server, your SharePoint server, things like that. Only it's cloud-based, right? So with those services and those apps connected up in the cloud, we basically have an interconnected backend digital fabric, is what Microsoft likes to refer to it as. And that digital fabric allows all of these applications and all of these services to communicate and talk together, which really improves the user experience. And that's where we typically see this gap that we're talking about on getting organizations to adopt it, getting your end users to understand it. So an example of this is Teams. It's the prime example, right? On the left-hand side here, we have the front end. You have a chat, you have apps on the left-hand side, but in reality, that's just a nice interface. On the back end, it's using Exchange for messaging, SharePoint and OneDrive for your files and your file storage. It's using things like Power Automate to automate things like approvals and things like that we'll talk about in demo later on. It can also use third-party integrations too. So if you have Salesforce or Smartsheets, you can actually bring that directly into Teams, right? Because those are all cloud-based applications that we can simply pump up and in. And as long as your organization allows you, right, you can use those third-party apps. So we purposely did not want to make this a slide-based, webinar. We wanted to give you demos so that you could then take that back to your users, or if you are an end user, we wanted to show you directly on how it works. So we're going to go ahead and start jumping into that. And basically, we're going to start at the edge, which is Microsoft Edge, which is Microsoft's web browser. The reason we start at the edge is Edge is built on Chromium, so it's the same thing as Chrome, which users typically like to use. Over 90% of the Microsoft 365 license SKUs include web apps, so regardless of the license SKU that your users are using, typically they have these web apps and can use Edge to function. Edge comes pre-installed on Windows 10 and 11 devices, so it's highly accessible. You can also get it on Android and iOS and things like that. It's also interconnected with the rest of the Microsoft 365 platform. So when we talk about the additional features like search and security, you actually get a better experience there than you would if you were using a Chrome or a Firefox or something like that. So with that, I am going to stop sharing and hand this over to Matt Gordon, who's going to start working through the demos. And then we'll probably do some back and forth. And I know Matt Gedeon might chime in here, and we're going to try and show you as much functionality and tips and tricks as we can to hopefully make this worthwhile for you and help you go communicate back to your organization, your end users, your IT team, things you could be doing to make your life a little bit better, improve the work-life balance, and just make you more productive.
Cool. Thanks, Dustin. All right, let me get share up here. All right, so as Dustin mentioned, we're gonna start at the Edge browser in this case. So here I am. This is a pretty generic browser window here. Nothing fancy going on. I think this is actually linked up to my Hotmail account currently. But you can also link up profiles with your Office 365 account. So the way you do that is if you go to settings, which you can get to here, it'll bring up this tab. It'll take you right to your profile. Essentially, all you want to do here is add a new account and sign in to sync data. And this is going to prompt you for your work account. So from there, you'll be able to log in, and that's going to link Edge, at least this profile in Edge, with your work account. Once that occurs, you're actually going to get a different browser icon. And let me get a blown up screenshot of that because I know it's really small. So you'll see an Edge icon. I've got it down here in my taskbar. It's got this little briefcase looking icon sitting over the top of it. So that is your integrated profile with your work account. You can also see it's listed here from this browser window. I could switch to it. So let's go ahead and do that now. It's going to take me over here into this is now my active browser. You'll see that my work account is now the primary profile here. So when we go back to the home page, now opposed to what we saw over here, which was just generic information, we're actually focused now against our work account. So you guys will see here up at the top, we've got our work feed here is what's selected. This is going to do a couple of things. This is going to bubble up some industry specific news, and this is something that can be configured on the back end to basically determine what types of news you want to direct to your consumers. It's also going to give you information on recent activity that's gone on in your tenant that may have something to do with you, right? So if somebody mentions you, somebody works on a file that you've got access to, things like that are going to show up here in this area. The other thing you might see is some different options over here on the left-hand side. We're on the For You page right now. There are some other options here again, which is going to show you. I don't have any at the moment. Nothing interesting's been going on in this tenant, but typically you would see, again, the stuff you've been commented on or things you've been pulled in on. Meeting insights would be the same, just about your meeting information, again, news specifically. So everything gets rolled up into For You, but you can drill down into individual categories here. Similar to that, one of the biggest things that I personally always run into is finding documents, right? Finding a document I worked on last week, or finding something that Matt Gedeon wants me to collaborate with him on. That's where we use this My Content section. You can see earlier today we were working on some moonshine. We were trying to get that ready for a party later. So this is going to show you, a quick view of the stuff that you've recently worked on. So easy way to get back to those files that you may have lost or just not remember what it was. Favorites in this case is actually going to kick out a new browser window, which is going to force me to sign in. This is going to take you out to the Office portal, essentially the same type of data present here. This is just going to kick you out to the portal so that you can navigate a little bit deeper there. All right, so here on this main page, a couple of other things I want to point out. So you also see over on the right-hand side, a couple of boxes here. So recent SharePoint sites. So again, this is going to be SharePoint sites that I've visited recently. So this should stay updated with the places that you've been. An easy way for your end users to navigate to those locations. Important emails. This is going to bubble up things that you're mentioned on. If somebody does an in the body of the email, that's going to get you here. Some other like high priority emails, things like that, will also find their way here. Below that, a quick calendar view, showing the items that I have immediately coming up on my calendar. You can also switch to the next day. You can also join, if it's a Teams meeting, if it's an integrated meeting, you can join those meetings directly from here. And then finally below that, to do and tasks. So if your end users are tracking their items, their tasks with to do, then those are also present here and can be completed here and modified here as well. So that's kind of like the main view of the integrated profile from the default page and what options are available to you. The other really cool thing that I wanted to point out is the sidebar over here on the right hand side. So if this is not enabled for you, again, back in settings, you can go to sidebar here. You can turn it on. You can determine which of the applications are available in the sidebar. But there are some really cool applications over here. So first of all, Outlook, really similar to what you would see in the mobile app, kind of the same type of setup, the same type of navigation controls here. So really easy from the browser for you to see what's going on in your email. RSVP to meeting invites if you want to. You can also reply to emails directly through here. Again, it's similar to the mobile app, so if you're familiar with that, it's the same type of landscape here. The other component is this little Office 365 application icon here. So again, this gives you a quick view of the recent items that you've been working on. You can kind of filter these between the different document types if there's something specific that you're looking for. And then you've also got quick links to get out to all of your existing Office applications as well. Now, these do just open a new link or take you to that specific page. But again, that's a good quick entry point for end users to navigate to things there. Outside of that, my favorite function of this nav bar is this search. So it's a little misleading at first. Like you're going to get here and you're going to think it's the typical Bing / Google style search. And on the surface, it absolutely is. But the interesting part is that it is also searching your tenant. So if I put, and of course, it's not going to give me the option.
Yeah, Matt, we might have to use the middle search. It might be the sign in specific to the front page for the sidebar.
You broke my sidebar search?
Yeah, probably.
That's like the coolest.
So yeah, the sidebar search generally will work. Here it is. There we go.
I got it. Refresh enough times that it will inevitably work. All right, so I just put in Dustin's name, right? Nothing big. Hit that search, and you'll notice now that I have this option for work. So if I switch over to this is exclusively going to show me results from within my tenant. So this is a really great way to go find, again, missing documents, documents your coworkers or your teammates have been working on. You can see here, I've got a quick view of Dustin's schedule. All these things are available. Again, you can filter this down to specific items. If you're in Power BI, you can look for different dashboards there. People, the files and the sites are what I come back to again and again. I mean, it's so easy to get lost in Teams and SharePoint sites and everything else. So it's nice to be able to come here and easily locate the things you need. So definitely utilize that. I think that's a fantastic tool. So similarly to that, though, we can go to Microsoft 365 and we can do the exact same type of searches here. This is basically going to give you the exact same results. It's even giving you the same sort of filtering breakdown here. But these are the most common and most effective ways for your end users to find the things that they need to find in what are becoming increasingly sizable Office 365 tenants. So that's all cool. The other thing we wanted to show you within the Edge browser is, let's see, how do I want to do this? Let's go. We'll just go back. Sorry. So let's go to my OneDrive. All right, so web page view of my OneDrive, nothing special here, but I want a quick way to be able to get back to this whenever I want to. So the nice thing about this is you can actually convert this into basically an application, right? So I can take this web page, again, I can hit the ellipsis here. I can go to apps and I can do, it won't do that with OneDrive, will it, Dustin? I picked the wrong one.
Do it with Teams. Teams generally works a little bit better. OneDrive has a sync agent, so it's a mileage will vary type thing, right? Depending on the app and the page, it's going to want to install differently based off of the intelligence behind Microsoft.
Here we go. All right, so yeah, Teams is a little bit better about this. So if you go to apps, you'll see install this site as an app. And so when you click on this, it's going to give you an option to rename it. Web. And then it's actually going to pop up Teams. It popped it up on a different monitor over here, but so it's going to pop up Teams. And now, again, Teams is probably not the best one to do, but now I can link this down in my taskbar so that if I launch it now, it should take me directly to the web page as an app. And you can do that with essentially, I mean, again, like Dustin said, your mileage may vary, but most basic web pages, most links that you go to, this should function with. Things like OneDrive get a little bit weird, but for the majority of things, that should work.
Yeah, one of the use cases we see this for is if your end users are constantly collaborating outside of the environment. So if they're collaborating with another company or something like that, and the company requires them to switch to another Teams instance, they can actually open that Teams instance in the web and save it as an app. And then instead of switching back and forth between the Teams instances, they'll actually be able to have two Teams instances open, internal company and external company, so they don't have to do all that switching back and forth.
Which solves a common problem for us. Switching back and forth. Let's see, what's next? What am I leaving out on the edge
side? Did you cover person connections on the left-hand side?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so the other item on the left-hand side, again, you got full search capabilities here, but you'll have your people listed, which then gives you insight into communication with that user or anything that's related to that user through your search. Which again is really great for finding something that you've collaborated on in the past, or maybe even just seeing things that are kind of in process right now that you need to keep up on with this individual person. You also have full ability to trigger chat and video and everything here from directly from this search.
Yep, and then the other thing that I want to mention here on the profiles themselves that Matt started off with is Microsoft 365 tries to be as secure as possible by default. So anything in this profile is still governed and managed and secured by the tenant. That means any profile settings that we have in here also are retained. So if Matt were to switch to vertical tabs or change the color of the Edge browser, that would be maintained specifically on his work profile and does not go outside of his work profile, right? So his personal profile would be clearly differentiated from his work profile if he wanted to customize either one in any way, which it's a great tip and technique that we like to show users so they don't get confused between browsers and wonder why one's working, why the other one isn't.
Set a different background. All right, I think we covered, I'm just going back over our list, but I think we covered everything on the edge side.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about Edge? I mean, I know a lot of people, it continuously gets better, and I think a lot of people don't use it to its full advantage because they just don't know what it's fully capable of.
Yeah, make sure you use the Q&A for that. I know microphones and cameras are disabled. The other thing with Edge is that search that we were showing in the right-hand side, you can also do directly at the top. You'll see that the search bar actually says search Microsoft Demos, which is the tenant name for this one. Just when you click enter, it takes you to like a results page. And then you can click on work in that results page to show basically the whole work piece, which a lot of people are are looking at now. Martin, I see that you asked, are there any other changes between Standard Edge and Edge for Business that recently got pushed out other than the profiles and the other integrations? So the new capabilities that were recently pushed out with Edge for Business, you'll see that it's a little bit clearer whether you're using work or personal in the top right-hand side. The other items really come down to a security and governance perspective. They're not something that your end user is going to see other than the personalization that we showed so far. But on the back end, the IT administrative side, we can start having a ton more control over basically what's allowed to enter and leave the browser, right? What are sites that users can go to? What are sites that are blocked? What applications can we allow in the browser and which ones can be blocked? Things like that. We can find the Edge for Business link that has the full listing of all the new capabilities. But I can tell you that they are, growing daily. Microsoft's putting a ton of investment into the Edge browser right now because of the web-based users and the frontline users that are coming out. So we'll grab that link for you and drop it in here. The other item, Matt, do you want to go to a Wikipedia page real quick? I want to show the web capture functionality that comes up. So one of the items that we're typically running into is when users are creating different documents, they're typically referencing another website or another page. Matt, just search like CDI LLC or something like that. So when that happens, there's basically a copy paste that happens, and when they copy paste, text either gets all jumbled or is improperly formatted or something like that. So what you can do, just go to the CDI Corporation page. I'm not even sure if it's us.
It's not.
Yeah, but what you can do is you can go up into your little three dots up there in the right-hand corner. And there is an option under there it is, for web capture. So when you click on web capture, it's going to give you a typical screenshot tool, but you can basically capture any of the text in there and it will maintain the formatting for you. So you don't have to worry about the format getting out of order or a bulleted list not showing up right. So you can basically take that, and then Matt, if you just want to paste it into like OneNote or something to show what it looks like when we paste it out. But that saves a ton of time reformatting documents or merging formatting or something like that. Yeah, Matt, just go new tab and then up in the left-hand waffle, which we didn't show the left-hand waffle either. There is a ton of functionality in here for everyone.
Hang on, I got paste. Maybe. Oh wait. I thought you could change the form. Where were you want me to go?
Just Yeah, so you're in OneNote right now. So you can see it actually kept the formatting and things like that. And then if Matt wanted to, he could actually go in and update that text right now as it sits.
Nah, I brought it in as an image for some reason.
It should, you might have to do a paste as text.
Yeah, typical demo. That's not.
Yep. This is what happens. I can send a time savers, you know, a time savers demo where Microsoft did it on a YouTube video. It's about a minute long video, but it can show you how it can work.
I don't even think
Yeah, that's fine. We'll keep moving on from it. But I'll make sure that we send it out in our follow-ups. But one of the things Matt actually did as part of that is on that main Edge web page, scroll back up to the top, Matt. On the left-hand side, if users want to quickly get to their apps too, there's what they consider a waffle over there. And that also gives you to all of your apps. And if your app isn't listed there for some reason, you can click on Microsoft 365, which will actually take you back to that Microsoft 365 portal that Matt was showing as well. It's not doing a good job of keeping you signed in, is it, Matt?
It's because I bounce around accounts all day. I don't allow it to keep it. That's my fault.
Yeah, all good. But as you can see, that takes us back to the Microsoft 365 portal. And if for some reason your users or you don't want to use Edge, that's fine. You can actually come to this portal. The functionality isn't as, as closed in and as compact and in depth as the Edge front page. But on the left-hand side there, you can see you can still create a document. You still have a feed there. You can still see your My Content. You still have a search bar at the top, right? So there is still functionality there. You can log in to this page from Chrome and still get a lot of those capabilities if you don't want to use Edge. But as we were saying, Edge and Edge for Business does give us some more tools and a few more options, a few more easy click areas for your users. If you have any other questions about Edge, go ahead and feel free to drop them into the Q&A. We'll make sure we respond to them. But I think next up we were going to move to Teams, Matt.
Do you have the full client that you can share? Or you?
I was just going to use the web client.
Oh, all right. I haven't been in here yet. Okay. All right, what do we have on our list? All right, help me out here, Dustin. This is your agenda. I haven't looked at this portion of it.
So basically when we talk about Teams, right, we showed it in the initial web slides and things like that, but Teams is really just a nice interface to a ton of back-end functionality. So you can see that Matt's got a ton of digital assets there in his hidden channels. But what you can also do is you can try and cut down on some of the 5 million emails that we all get every day by taking in an email and actually forwarding it into a channel. So if Matt wanted to, you can see he right-clicked on one of his channels there. You can get an email address, and then you can forward it to that email address. And what happens is the email then gets published in context in the channel. And anybody that has access to that channel can see it, collaborate on it, and talk to it. And what that gives you the capability to do is kind of cut down on the back and forth emails, the, yeah, I saw this email, the, hey, we should do this email, and kind of save your inbox, right? So you'll see it come through here in a second. Matt's working on getting it built out right now. But that's one of those features and functions where we see a lot of people, kind of miss that capability as part of it. So that of course has to go through the email filtering and things like that, but it will pop up here in a second. While we're waiting for that to pop up, Matt, why don't you jump over to email real quick too? And you can actually do that directly from an email too, but it requires you searching email. So Matt, just choose an email there.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. So on the right-hand side, you'll see there's a little waffle at the top of the email in context. You can actually click on that, the apps item, and you might have to add an app in there, but you can add Teams in there. And when you add Teams into that, and we can add it by default as an admin, that will also give you the ability to browse Teams and insert that email into a particular channel. So of course it is a demo, and Microsoft's going to go nice and slow for us.
Oh, that's not good.
Get it built by Microsoft, then it'll probably make it easier. It was showing up by default for me, so it's weird that it wasn't for you.
Weird.
I'll tell you what, Matt, you want to drop that down and we'll use the my other tenant. I'll share out the other tenant window.
Yeah, you want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, go ahead.
You delicensed me. That's what I would like.
Yeah, it's possible I might have done that. So what I was talking about before, while we were waiting for that show up from Matt, over here in apps, you can see that there's a share to Teams option. So if you want to click on that share to Teams option, it'll pop up. And what we can actually do with that share to Teams option is we can share it to a particular team. We can even add a message to it so that we can see the forwarded message here. If it had an attachment, we could include attachments, and then we could actually share this out. So you'll see the emails on the way to Teams, and then if we were to open up Teams, give it a second here. There's our email that we just forwarded over from Outlook. So it's nice capability to have, kind of cut down on your inbox there. I know a lot of people go, hey, I get 2,000 emails a day. It's difficult to look at, right? And I need to save my inbox. So that's one of the capabilities you can use to save your inbox there and just generate something like that. Of course, when we're talking about chats and things like that, there are often times where we have a ton of messages in chats, right? So we have message 1, we have message 2, so on and so forth. And what can typically happen is, you'll need to reply to a message 4 messages up to keep the context on it. So you can actually click the right ellipses here and actually click reply. When you do that, it will show the message that you're replying to in your reply. That way people understand the context behind it and things like that. Prevents a lot of misunderstandings and a big thing to do there. There are also hotkeys that you can use as well to do that. And we'll actually share on a playlist that that'll show some of this functionality as well. But that's one of those things that's nice to have, that you can do it. Most of what we've talked about is all within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem so far. So I'm going to take us outside of that for a second. If you look up in your Teams, you actually have these tabs. You can also have them on general chats. A lot of the times we'll be working in Smart Sheets or something like that. And we won't have the capability to, or a lot of people think we don't have a capability to, just bring smart sheets into Teams and reduce that additional click. But what we can do is simply go up here. You can choose from a number of different applications. There are third-party applications. There are Microsoft applications in here. If you don't have the application, you could even just do a website. As long as the website can be embedded, you can paste the URL in there, and you're basically off to the races, right? You can basically show this website wherever you want in here. And this is one of those things that I did not test out beforehand, so we're just gonna give it a go to show off the functionality. Yep, so there you go. External website. This isn't related to our tenant in any way. As you can see, pulls up the CDI website, no problem. I can see it directly within Teams. I can still browse to the other areas in Teams, right? I don't have to leave Teams. It's a single click. I'm not typing in any type of web addresses, anything like that. So that's one of those things where if you get those users that, they want to simplify their life, they are working on multiple things that might be internal and external to the organization, you have that capability. And then, if for some reason they don't like the Teams interface or something like that, we have other capabilities to just go directly into SharePoint, and look at those files, directly into SharePoint, right? So that allows us to get directly into SharePoint, more of a document management site, to look at that as well. And I'll actually pull up our other tenant here, similar to what Matt was showing you. When we talk about going back to Teams, right, and that SharePoint connection, there's actually something called Viva Connections now, which is an end user experience platform. And they've integrated that directly into Teams with Viva Connections. We can call it whatever we want. We can put a custom logo on it. We can pin it to Teams. It's up here in the left-hand corner for us. So when we go to that, this gives us kind of that daily feed that we were talking about, right? Hey, what's on the dashboard? Any news, Viva Learning, things like that have been posted, resources, frequent sites, things like that. And if we're not finding what we want here, we can actually go directly into the homepage, our SharePoint homepage. And that takes us to kind of a nicer navigation of the internal company intranet, if we wanted to do that as well. And then we just have global navigation here, so we can go right back to the dashboard if we want, or we can drill deeper into, our SharePoint sites, things like that. A form if we wanted to, right? We can link directly to it, go to a form. Then we can use the Power Platform on the back end if this loads up. And we can automate what that form does and what it fills out and things like that. We can send for approvals, items like that. And then those approvals can show up directly in Teams. So I don't think I have any approvals in here, but we can create approval templates. Again, we don't have to leave Teams to do this. We just tell our users, search approvals, go to approvals, right? And then they can make an approval request. They can set certain approvers, things like that. So this is where we see a lot of organizations that are starting to integrate HR, marketing, resource requests, things like that. They'll put it in, it'll go through an automation, and it'll email the proper people, ask them for approvals. They can approve it directly in Teams if they wanted to. And again, you're not clicking around a lot, right? You're staying within the browser, within Teams, within your app. So it really it's all interconnected, like we were talking about, right? You can do a ton of things with it. So I'm going to move more into Outlook in a second. If there's any more questions about Teams or what we want to do with it, or Matt Gordon, Matt Gedeon, if there's anything else you wanted to show that I missed, let me know. If not, we'll kind of move over to Outlook. I know we're starting to move a little bit quicker, but I am aware that, we've got about 15 minutes left in the webinar, so I want to make sure that we get as much information in for everyone as we can.
And to be clear, guys, this is stuff that we are actually using as part of our process at CDI. This is our test demo, but we actually use this in these processes in our live environment as far as the approvals and things like that. So it is stuff that we're using. And we find it very helpful because you then have a single interface for it.
Yeah, I mean, the capabilities and functionality you get behind it. I mean, this is another test tenant here, but the ability to, drop in an incident tracking list and things like that directly into Teams really helps with, collaboration and understanding where things are at. You can drop a planner board or a project board into this to keep your teams, on point. Using the calendar functionality, things like that. This webinar we're running through Teams. We could have done the registration through Teams if we wanted to, right? There's a lot of functionality there. And of course, this is integrated into that feed we shared earlier, and I'm going to start going into Outlook and basically the integrations there and the things you can do there too as well. So when we start looking at at Outlook, right? We'll go back to kind of, hey, I've got 5,000 different emails, right? I've got 151 emails in this tenant. It's a test tenant that we use maybe once a month, right? So emails quickly add up, but what you can do with these emails, instead of, this is one of the emails I sent to Matt Gordon saying, hey, are we ready for the demo tomorrow, right? Instead of Matt replying to this, he could simply go up to our reactions here and just go, yep, we're good. I saw this. It's not going to let me do it to myself, but if Matt wanted to do it, you could see the reaction up here, and you can actually see who reacted to it too, right? So it kind of becomes an impromptu poll, where, yeah, so he just responded to it. But it becomes an impromptu poll. You can see Matt reacted to the message. I can click when those reactions come up and see he did react to it. If we had a larger team on it, right, I could see who reacted to it, which would also help me understand, hey, who saw this email, who acknowledged that they got this email, who's ready to roll, who, gave me a bad reaction or a, hey, I'm a surprise reaction that we have a demo tomorrow, right? You have those capabilities that you can use. So that's a nice way to kind of keep that inbox clean as well. And then when we move to the calendar, we're all in a world of hybrid work, right? No one's going to deny that now. A couple hospitals and things like that, obviously, not everybody can hybrid work, but you typically still have administrators and things like that working outside of the office. And when you're talking about that, there's often a requirement to understand, is this person remote today? Are they in the office today? What might be happening. So one of the new things that I believe it's just on Outlook for Web right now, the new Outlook client should have it when it comes out. You can actually add a work location and you can set a schedule for it. So I can say, hey, I'm going to be remote on this day, and it pops up a little house there that I'm remote. And on the next day, I can say, hey, I'm working from the office, and it'll show in the office. And then other people in my organization can also see I'm remote or I'm in the office that day. And that can help them when they're scheduling meetings, right? So then they know if it's an in-person, if they can have an in-person meeting, and if they need a conference room as part of that meeting, right? Or if it's remote and we should just make it a remote meeting, kind of save the conference room in the office for somebody else. And in addition to, to scheduling that item, they've gotten much better with the event scheduling as well. So when we talk about the event scheduling, right, if I'm trying to schedule an event with Matt, it's now showing up in the right-hand pane that, hey, me and Matt are available this day. It's also suggesting times, right? So as we add more people will start showing up and we'll see their availability and suggested times. I know one of the major pain points we have, and a lot of our customers have had is, hey, we're trying to get 80 people on a meeting and we can't find a good time for them, right? So now instead of doing that poll, which Matt already created, you can see the times right away. If not, you can send out a scheduling poll as part of it, right? And it'll sort by everybody's availability, right? So it gives you those capabilities. And then of course, if I go into the the poll that Matt just sent me, I can respond to that as well, right? So I can go vote on the poll, and Matt will get those responses back on, hey, do I prefer it? Do I not prefer it? And I can vote, and he can make a decision based off of when he gets 100% of the votes in, 90% of the votes in, anything like that. Yep, and see, then he just sent out a meeting based off of my response. So then I can respond to it right in here. But a lot of great functionality in here. When we go back to that scheduling discussion, right, and the pain points we have between calendars and inboxes and getting things scheduled, one of the other new functionalities that have been released are personal booking pages. So it was just in that left-hand side right there of my calendar, I can go to my booking page. And when I do, I can make a public event that is available to anyone. I can drop it in the bottom of an email signature, and I can say, hey, here are the hours I'm available. It integrates with my Outlook calendar, and people can schedule a meeting based off of that time. I can also create private events that I have the capability to share out a specific link or a specific option to a user. And I can automatically categorize that event on my calendar so that I understand that, hey, this is an internal meeting, something like that. You can customize all of your categories. That's been around for a while. You can set it as a Teams meeting, or you can set an office location. As you can see, it's private here. And then we have a ton of advanced options. We can put some buffer at the beginning or the end just to make sure we have time to catch up after our meetings. And then once we save it, we'll be able to basically grab a link off of this and send it out to a specific user. We can also take this link and say, hey, it's only available once. That prevents other users from taking that link and then forwarding it out, right? Which really, helps with the calendar sprawl, the meeting sprawl that you might get if you were to share out a meeting link and people decide to send it out to 20 different people, 30 different people, things like that. So again, it's allowing your users kind of to take control back of the calendars, kind of reduce some of that sprawl that we typically see and make them more productive. In addition to, the tab functionality where they can see their feed, their network, who's in what they've been working on, things like that. So Matt, anything else that you have that you want to talk? I know we're coming towards the end of time here. And I know we covered a lot. Thanks everyone for hanging on and trying to follow along if you were. I know that's a lot to do.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything else. I mean, there's been a lot of info really fast. So, hopefully everybody here can take some of it, digest it, and see how it may apply to your organization.
Yep, Gedeon, anything you wanted to chime in with?
Nothing really. You guys did the presentation was pretty spot on. I didn't think there's a lot of valuable things that this product can do. And once you start to see what it can do, it really is quite interesting to me what all you're really capable of with it. I mean, it's a big product, and we like I said, we use it a lot. So we kind of, I don't want to say take it for granted, but we kind of take it for granted.
Yeah, no, that's where we go back to. A lot of users today look at this still as just your office applications, right? But there are a ton of capabilities around it. While we showed some of those capabilities today, there are there are a ton of other things that we kind of glanced over that we can come back to, right? Scheduling a meeting for a specific Teams channel, using the Power Platform to create a customized app for user roles, automating approval processes, right? Creating SharePoint lists and things like that. We're gonna try and have more webinars to start digging a little bit deeper in for everyone's understanding. But if you want one-on-one time to talk about some of these features a little bit more, talk about getting them enabled in your tenant, absolutely reach out, contact your CDI account rep, or Jen sent out a ton of webinar reminders. Feel free to fill her inbox up with as with as much as you want around questions and things like that, and she'll get them directed the right way. I'm sure Jen appreciates me telling everyone to blow up her inbox because she gets enough emails as it is. But with that, we'll leave the webinar open for another minute or here so. If anyone has any other Q&A, things like that, if you want us to go back and kind of demo something again so you can see it again, we'll hang on here for another 5 to 10 minutes. And if not, hope this was informative for all of you, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
The one thing I could say, sorry, Dustin, the one thing I could say that we probably, it's the hardest thing, I think, when you start to look at all this, is everything, how interconnected everything is, like how much everything works together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where even I miss some of those integrations sometimes. There's just a ton of back-end capabilities that often aren't easily seen when you're just clicking around. But once you know that they're there, you know, right? You don't know what you don't know, and you know what you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, Gedeon, I'm telling you, man, I'm looking up AC/DC playlist. Some instrumentals.
The instrumental stuff's pretty funny. There's even an accordion one I found at one point.
Jen's gonna have to weigh in there, but I think the accordion instrumental is definitely how we start the next webinar. Jen's staying on mute. She's not gonna have any of it.
Probably just rolling her eyes at this point. It's usually what happens.
Yeah, most likely. All right. It looks like Q&A is pretty quiet. We have people starting to leave and head out. I know a lot of people probably have 1 o'clock meetings. So we'll go ahead and close out the webinar. This was recorded. If you want the slide deck, anything like that, please let us know. We'll pass it out. I know this is more demo based, so if you want the recording or you want us to share the recording, let us know. We'll be happy to get that over to you. And besides that, everyone have a great day.